There's a handful of songs in the Hal Leonard book that don't come across as students' favorites right away. Most of the time it's because the feel isn't quite right to them. Jolly Good Fellow is one of them, Shenandoah is another. Give My Regards to Broadway is one that doesn't sit well with students at first. Part of the reason is that it's all these low notes on the ledger lines under the staff, but the other is just that the feel isn't quite right. For me, time is on my side. The next song we're going to do in the book is one of those songs that just didn't feel right as I counted it out. Because even for me, a lot of these songs are only familiar through reading them in this book. I didn't realize what the issue was, and it's usually the fact that it's written in a simple form, in this case 4/4 time, with quarter notes and half notes, when the pulse is actually what's called cut time, or written in eighth notes. In cut time, we're actually not playing in 4/4, but 2/2. Quarter notes, which are usually one beat each, would be felt as eighth notes of a half a beat. You don't really have to know that, but as I play this song with a slightly different feel, as we count through, you'll probably recognize what's going on there. Most of the feel issues in the book that will boil down to this. Let's do a little review. If you've been following along in the Hal Leonard method book, you're very familiar with these low notes by now. We've played bass rock, boogie bass, blues bass, grand finale, and snake charmer as examples of songs with the ledger lines. But it's always worth a review. As I've told you, you should actually be going back in your book and playing the old pages again to freshen up. If you're coming in here and just finding this on the internet right now, this is about lesson 104, and you'd want to go back to lesson 1 and actually the introduction if you haven't been reading notes at all and working through the Hal Leonard book with me. About half the lessons have not involved this. They've been off in other directions, which I would add in personal, private, one-on-one lessons as well. But this has been an underlying theme and a thread that runs through all of the lessons. So you'd go back over and over again to review old notes, and we can do a little bit of that here. This is the material that would be found on page 22 and 24. Here I've got our ledger line notes. We've got a maximum for guitar in this tuning of 3 ledger lines. So that's a nice thing to know. You want to settle your mind on that fact and not worry about how many there are and keep looking for more and more. The lowest one is under the 3rd ledger line, which I can visualize as an E. So that's our E note. It's on a space under the 3rd ledger line. Now if you go up space by space by space, you'll be skipping a note. So you go from E, you'd skip an F and play a G on the next space, 2 ledger lines, B at the next space, 1 ledger line, D in the space under the staff, and F in the space of the staff. E, G, B, D, F, every good boy deserves fudge. So if you start on your lowest ledger line note in the space, you can do every good boy deserves fudge the same way you did on lines when you first learned your guitar. On that 3rd ledger line, just slightly higher than the note under the line, is the F. If E's under the line, F must be the next note, which comes right before the G, which is under the 2nd line. F, A, C, E would give you the notes on the ledger lines. F on the 3rd, A on the 2nd, C on the 1st, and then E, this is the every good boy deserves fudge E, starting the lines. Just for my own interest, there's the G, it's under the 2nd ledger line, and just somehow it recommends itself to me as the letter G. I just see it in that line in the circle. So I keep indicating it to you in case it might help you that way. So in Give My Regards to Broadway, as always, we want to name our notes. G, A, B, C, D. G, A, B, C, D. That's your scale. So if you're good at your natural note scale, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Boy, it's a long time since I showed you that, isn't it? Coming back down, G, F, E, D, C, B, A, G, F, E, D, C, B, A, G, F, E. We'll be playing mostly on those lowest 3 strings. We have our G note, 3rd fret. We're going up that scale from G up to the D. So it's G to A, to B, to C, to D, and back down a note to C. And back down to B. So up the scale to D, and back down a little to B. G, A, B, C, D, C, B. And then with the beats, 1 beat here, 2 here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, the whole note on C. And so that's Give My Regards to Broadway. Broadway, we end on the B. So 3rd fret G, open A, 2nd fret B, 3rd fret C, open D, back to C and B. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. We end on this G. 4 notes, all A's. Up a little bit to B, and back down to G. A whole note tied to another whole note. 4 beats and 4 more beats. So a total of 8 beats, 2 bars. Next line, we start the same. G, A, B, C, but at the C we don't go up to open D, we come down to open A. So the first time we wound up on open D, this time we go down to open A. So that would be a nice little comparison to learn in order to learn these 2 lines. So we've got two bars there. Next line. A, B, C, D. We've gone up the scale again. We drop from D to B, so we're skipping the C, but after we get there, B, A, G, we come down the scale. This is something we've talked a little bit about, and you can use it to inform your reading a little bit. These are both on lines, so they're a third apart. That means we're skipping a note, so it's C not to B, but C to A. People can have a lot of trouble discerning the difference between A's, B's, and C's, but if you can remember things like that, these 2 notes on lines must have a note in between them. So they're C and A with a B in between that we're skipping here. We've surrounded it though to land on this B, which is actually jumping up to a D, a third above, because they're both in spaces, to surround the C. So B up to D drops down to C. So we've sort of surrounded 2 different notes here. We went C, dropped down to A to surround this B, which continues to surround. It jumps up to D and down to C. A really nice little piece of songwriting. 3rd down, step up, 3rd up, step down. We've spoken in other songs about chord tones and passing tones. I'm not going to go through that in this song right now. The main thing I want to get to is the pace. So if we're playing this and counting out 4/4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, tie 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So you can play that and it sounds okay. Students will then think, well, I guess the key was to speed up. But it's not just speed. There's a bit of a different feel in this, and you have to get a sense of the song. You don't have to know that it's cut time to get this. But there you can feel what eighth notes are like rather than 4 equal quarters. It's not just faster, there's a different feel to eighth notes. 1 and 2 and versus 1, 2, 3, 4. I can say that just as fast. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and. The pulse is different. And that's what's wrong with these songs when you play them in 4/4 with no knowledge of the actual song. So it sounds like this. You don't have to play it that fast, but that's the idea of the song. Give my regards to Broadway. So even slower, if I'm thinking eighths, you will feel it. Yeah, right there, you can still recognize that there's a different feel if you get the sense of the right pulse. Tied. So you can try to work up toward that. I also want to take a quick peek at the chords. We're in the key of C. We know that the primary chords, 1, 4, and 5, are C's, F's, and G's. G could be G7, it's the 5 chord. Going through the scale, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. The C chord is major. The 2, the D should be minor. 3 is E, it should be minor. F is 4. G is 5. A is 6. And the B could be the diminished chord. Back to C. You've learned all those chords. And we have a few special chords here. We have D7s before Gs. You've seen this many, many times, all the way back to Aurelie and Au Clair de la Lune. D is supposed to be minor in this key. They've substituted in the dominant 7. We know that that's the 5 chord in G. So it would occupy the 5 space when G is 1. And it's just used to get us to Gs. It's a borrowed chord, a secondary dominant. It's the dominant from the key of G, but in the key of C it's a secondary. So D7s lead to Gs. We also have F minors. F minor is conflicting obviously with F major, the 4 chord. The minor chord is borrowed from the key of C minor. This is called modal borrowing or modal transfers. We have the same root note of C, but at that moment they're presuming a C minor key, which has F minors. It's actually a really nice movement to go from a 4 chord to a 4 minor to let that note fade down to the root. I think we've talked about that before. I call it the Beatles effect. So if I was playing in C, I could get to an F, make it minor, to create a resolution down towards C. In this case, there's a touch of a bluesy, jazzy feel to this, and that note is actually going to fade us down onto the G7. So here are the chords if I strum 4 per bar. I guess I should count you in so you can play along. 1, 2, 3, 4, C, C, F minor, fading to G7 clearly, D minor to G7, which lands us on C's. Little turnaround chord, starting the next line. A minor, 2 G's and 2 D7s. Last 4 bars, relative minor of C, the A, 5 of C, and the C chord. You see we've got 8 bars here and 8 here. That's a 16-bar form, except really this should feel like we're in 8th notes, so it's an 8-bar form.